Cesselli. Welcome to the Spoken Word.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. So, how did you get here today?
I biked
From?
from the north end of the city, so I live just on Broad Street North, just kind of in the Northgate area.
Yeah. And then what roads did you take to get here?
I took Broad Street all the way down,
Okay, yeah.
just until about 15th Avenue.
Okay.
And I just took the back alley.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. So is it pretty snowy?
Yeah, I find that usually by a couple days after the storm, the main arterial roads are mostly cleared.
Yeah.
And then most of the back roads are packed down.
Yeah.
So shout out to all the roadways operations.
Yes.
They've been out, all the contractors,
Yep.
all through the night, making sure the roads are
Yep.
cleared and everyone can get where they're going.
Yeah, I know. The graders were at our place probably about midnight last night. So it's good. It's good, yeah. So why don't you tell us who you are and where you grew up? We'll start there.
So I grew up in Regina, here in the city.
Yep.
So I work for the City of Regina Facilities Operations.
Facilities operations.
Yeah.
And what exactly is that and how long have you been doing that?
So I've been doing that for 4 years.
Okay.
So we are in charge of running the day-to-day operations at the major facilities around the city. So that includes leisure centers, city hall, indoor rinks,
Okay.
outdoor pools.
Yeah. And to do that work, like what does a typical day look like and is it different for you summer versus winter?
Yeah, so in the summer, I've mostly been at the outdoor pools.
Okay.
So that involves water testing,
Okay.
General cleaning duties, minor repairs, those sorts of things.
Okay. And is this like Monday to Friday during the day or is it shift work all over?
All throughout the year.
Okay.
24/7. So we're always working.
Oh, so is it shift work and are you on call sometimes also?
Sometimes I'm usually on a fixed shift,
Okay.
so I'm on night shift right now.
Oh, night shift right now. Are you working tonight?
No,
Okay.
this is my day off.
Oh,
I'm
good.
a little bit tired from
Were you working all night last night?
just until 12 a.m.
Oh, geez. Well, thank you so much for making the effort to come today. And anyway, so sorry, you were saying summer, pools, what happens in the winter?
So I work at the indoor rinks.
Oh, okay.
So right now I'm running what we call an ice resurfacer that you probably know as a Zamboni.
Oh, yeah. Why don't you just call it a Zamboni?
So we have to be a little bit more technical.
So is it a Zamboni, though?
It is. It's a Zamboni ice resurfacer.
Yeah. So it says Zamboni on the
Yeah.
on the side? Okay. Okay. So I know what that is. Yep. I remember, wasn't there like a Tim Hortons commercial or something? And I don't know, I forget. It's like from when I was a kid or something. And the guy's driving the Zamboni down the street or something, or maybe it was a Ford commercial, I don't know. How's that thing on ice? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I know the most recent one I've seen that was on a Olympia ice resurfacer.
Oh,
So they are running those commercials again.
okay. That's very good. I guess no one has TV anymore, hey? It's just like on-demand Netflix,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Yeah. Anyway, okay, so skating rinks and whatnot in the winter, swimming pools and whatnot in the summer. So I guess when you're doing your job, whether it's daytime or nighttime or whatever, are you zipping around the city?
In the summertime I am.
In the summer. Okay.
I'm mostly assigned to one location.
Okay.
Makes it a little bit easier.
So do you get up in the morning and then hop on your bike and go to your first location that day, which I guess is the same location for wintertime mostly?
Yeah.
But then in summer, you're zipping around to different locations.
Yeah, I also get assigned to typically one major facility. And
Okay.
then going around to other buildings throughout the day.
Right.
Usually just one or two. So I might make a trip from the city center out to Curry Field or one of our indoor facilities
Okay.
later on in the day.
Okay. And are you paired up with somebody or are you working by yourself mostly?
It depends on the assignment. We
Okay.
have a variety of tasks that we do around the city.
Okay.
So we just assign crews as needed.
Yeah. So how do you get around? If you like ride your bike to work in the morning or whatever the start of your shift is, and then do you have a company truck or something that you're able to use to get around the different places you need to go? How do you visit the different facilities?
I've been using my bike almost exclusively for the past 2 years.
So it's not a company bike, it's your personal bike.
Yes.
So is it a different bike than what you rode in the morning to get there, or is it just your bike?
Just my bike.
Okay. What if you have to bring tools with you?
So we do have company vehicles when I'm required to move equipment for the employer, we will use one of our vans or pickup trucks.
Okay.
I can carry very small amounts of personal items, so my lunchbox, my hard hat, maybe a couple hand tools that can go on the bike, and then for anything that's going to require a vehicle, we do have our fleet vehicles available.
And is there anyone else who uses their bike to go from facility to facility during their shift?
I'm the only one so far.
You're the only one.
I'm hoping in the future that we have maybe a fleet of city bicycles.
Yeah, that would be awesome. So, is it causing any issues? Like, has it ever caused issues because you take longer to get where you need to go?
I do know that bicycles are actually quite efficient and more efficient than most people think they are. So I can usually get from point A to point B in usually 15 to 30 minutes. Most trips are less than 15 minutes.
Yep.
So especially in the summertime, I've been running a Kona Dew Plus, and that's a pretty fast bike. So
yep.
I can really, especially when you get that heavier traffic,
yep.
I can really actually match their speed and
yep.
kind of their average travel time. So I find it hasn't really been so much of an issue that it's preventing me from doing my core duties.
Yep.
I'm able to get all my core duties accomplished every day.
Wow.
Without using a personal vehicle.
Yeah. So, was there, like, did you need permission when you got this idea, you said 2 years ago, to stop using a vehicle and start using a bike instead?
I didn't ask for permission. I just I started doing it, just with a lot of concerns that I have about the exhaust from vehicles, the environmental impacts, the barriers to accessibility. I just decided that this is what I'm going to do.
Wow.
So I just started biking one day, and then I haven't stopped. So.
Wow. So, okay, let's talk about that. You said you've been working at the city in this particular job for 4 years, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But 2 years ago is when you started using your bike to go from facility to facility.
Yeah.
Which means for the first 2 years you were using a vehicle.
Yeah.
In those first 2 years, were you using a bike to get from home to work?
No.
You were using a vehicle.
Yeah.
Okay. So 2 years ago, when you started biking for work, you also started biking from home to work.
Yeah.
Okay.
I also was, I kind of eased into it over time.
Okay.
I've been bike commuting for about 4 years, but not full time.
Okay.
So I was biking once a week, and then twice a week, and then so on until I was biking to work, and then actually biking all over the city.
Really? So let's talk about that transition then, because it seems to me that something must have changed in your mind through this gradual shift. So first, let's start with what made you start in the first place, even if it was just once a week, let's say, riding your bike. Like what caused that shift?
Well, I think I watched, there was a YouTube video on a channel called Not Just Bikes, which I'm sure many people are familiar with. It's called Why Canadians Can't Bike in the Snow, but Finnish People Can.
Okay.
It was kind of my first exposure to winter biking.
Okay.
Seeing the footage of people in Oulu in particular, all the kids biking to school every day, 50-60% of all trips, even in -20. So I was already aware of some of the impacts, but once I started looking into some of these other cities and seeing that you actually can bike in the winter and it can work here, I decided to start doing it. So I've always loved winter, so it was a way to be outside.
Yep.
So I bought a $90 bike from Walmart, which I wouldn't
Amazing.
recommend those at this point now, knowing more about bikes.
Yep. Yeah, got to start somewhere.
So but that was I went and said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And
Amazing.
so I started biking on this Walmart bike down
Yep.
industrial roads at 4 a.m.
Yep.
In February. So that was kind of my first experience with bike commuting.
Okay, amazing. So when you started biking in the winter specifically, is that the same time that you started biking in the summer also, or were you already biking lots in the summer, but summer only, and this winter biking was a new thing?
This was kind of, I wasn't biking very much at all.
At all, okay.
I was one of those people where I had a bike when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And you get your driver's license, and the bike goes in the back of the shed.
Yeah.
And you don't really think about it again.
Yeah.
As a means of transportation or practicality.
I know those people. Those are the people who yell at me when I'm riding my bike. Get a license.
Yeah.
Yes, I know those people. It's okay. Hey, like parents condition their children to put their bikes away in the winter. You know, we're raised into this. So $90 Walmart bike
Yeah.
became your winter bike and your summer bike, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Okay. And that was 4 years ago or so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Approximately.
Okay. And then you said with time, you started biking more and more and more. Actually, first I wanted to ask you, when you started biking in the winter, what gave you the idea that you could do that? Was it not just bikes, or were you also seeing other people in Regina riding their bikes in the winter?
At this time I didn't know anyone that was winter biking. I didn't see anyone winter biking.
Okay.
It was really just, looking at globally,
Yeah.
these other cities where people are doing that and people around the world.
Yeah.
So I had no exposure to winter biking here.
Yeah.
I was basically just on my own.
Yeah. So there was like no, I don't want to say support system, but no like winter biking community that you
No.
joined at that time.
This was, I just did this on my own.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, great. So, and this was about 4 years ago, you said?
Yeah.
Okay, so 2024, so that would have been about 2020. That's really unfortunate because I've lived here since 2014, and I was winter biking at that time, but we just never crossed paths.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. That's one reason why I joined Bike Regina, is to start working with people that are sharing this experience.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about that since you brought it up. Tell us how you met Bike Regina and what you want to be doing.
So I discovered Bike Regina on the internet, just searching for a local group that was going to be advocating for some of the things that I care about, as well as just a way to connect with people that are trying to improve the state of transportation in the city. So that was kind of my goal, and it seemed like this organization aligns with those priorities.
You bet.
Also, just as a member of the city of Regina, I feel more personally connected to this. I want to see the city thriving, become sustainable, economically viable. So this is another way that I can serve the community outside of work and through my work as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, amazing. Well, we're very, very happy to have you. You're here on the podcast today, obviously, but what are some other types of ideas that you have for Bike Regina and your involvement?
Well, my biggest interest is biking in winter. I like biking in all kinds of inclement weather, rain, extreme cold, heavy snow. I enjoy the challenge, the satisfaction of kind of biking past my frozen, buried truck every day.
Yep.
And I'm not just getting into a heated cab. I'm actually exercising and using my body and kind of just facing head on into those conditions.
Yeah, that challenge. Aside from the physical benefits, do you see any other benefits just personally since you've started winter biking and biking more?
I feel a lot more connected to the city.
Really? Tell us about that.
Yeah, like exploring more areas.
Okay.
I've kind of I've come to love cities.
Really?
And what they can be. A lot of people I feel like are afraid of cities, or they don't want to be in the city. That's changed my perspective, and seeing how you can make things accessible, having amenities within walking distance, the way that you can connect people. You're not being in an isolated suburb, right, where there's no community. So it's really completely changed the way that I view cities and what the city in the future could look like.
Really? So I want to press on that a little bit. So can you think of an example of maybe a perception or an idea that you had about the city before, and what specifically has changed when you say that, you see the city differently?
I think that there's a more, I kind of have a desire for a more connected, caring community.
Yep.
So a society where we take the most vulnerable people
Yep.
that need help, and we do what we can to make everyone's life better.
Right.
So rather than just kind of traveling through the city in my kind of self-contained truck.
Yep. Your
I'm
2-ton.
disconnected from everything, right? I'm
Yep.
actually caring about the people around me.
Yep.
It's made me a lot more aware of people that have less than I do, people that rely on public transit,
Yep.
disabled people. So when I notice things like seeing people that don't have bus shelters.
Oh, yeah.
Seeing a mother with her children, sitting on the ground because there's no bench.
Right.
So those are things that I wouldn't have noticed.
Because you're zipping past so
Right.
fast in a vehicle.
So now I have to kind of experience the city through the lens of someone who can't afford to drive or who can't drive.
Yeah.
And it's made me a lot more empathetic to the situation.
Yeah.
So, and some of these barriers to employment or accessing health services that
Yeah.
people experience.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, how very inspiring, and something I'd never thought of. Thank you so much for sharing that. I want to talk about, speaking of the challenge of, the inclement weather and all of this, can you tell us, first of all, tell us about your winter bike. First of all, tell us if you have a winter bike or if your bike is just your bike.
So I do have a separate bike for winter.
For winter.
So,
Okay. Tell us about that.
For winter, I really like those stiff frame mountain bikes. So kind of the early 90s when the first mountain bikes came out.
Okay.
Just kind of the old 26-inch. These are kind of, for me, it's one of the most practical, affordable options.
Yeah.
If you're looking at getting into it, they're relatively inexpensive.
Yeah.
They range from kind of $50 to $150 on Facebook Marketplace.
Exactly.
They can be fitted with studded tires, cargo racks, fenders. So that's kind of my go-to winter setup.
Yeah.
Especially, where you're in the salt and the sand and everything,
Yeah.
so components are going to rust.
Yep.
So you're not as concerned about it when you're on maybe a $2,000 road bike or e-bike, right? So it's just relatively inexpensive. They're also very durable. So as I kind of mentioned the old department store bike previously, for the same price range, you're going to get something that's a lot more durable
Yeah.
than kind of those department quality ones.
Yeah. So what is your winter bike?
So it's a GT Tolera.
Oh, nice. And okay, so you also said that you're kitted out with the rack and the bags and whatnot. Tell us a little bit, and you brought some props today for us.
So these are my cargo panties.
Let's see. All right, so it's a set of two.
Yeah.
Awesome.
These are an Axiom product.
Yep.
I'm a big fan of their equipment.
So you've got the racks also, and this clips onto the
Yeah,
rack.
so this just clips right onto the bike. That's
Yeah.
very easy to remove.
Yeah.
So when I get to work, you just basically move this tab, pull them off, you're ready to go.
Oh, awesome.
I can fit basically everything that I would need for a shift. My lunchbox, my hard hat, my gloves, everything goes in here.
Yeah. And what about being weatherproof?
These are pretty good.
Yeah.
The only time I've had a little bit of water is in kind of torrential rain, where it's actually splashing up the sides.
And you think maybe like worked its way up the edge and then up?
But for the most part, I'm very happy with them.
Yeah.
They work just like a dry bag that you would use for outdoor activities.
Yeah. And do you use these in winter, summer as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I use these all year. So
Okay.
I've had about 3 seasons with them, and they're pretty much no wear at all.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy with them.
Awesome. And so that's cargo. And you told us about your bike. What about keeping your fingers and toes warm in the winter?
Yeah, so it's always a big concern when you're winter riding. You want to make sure that you're being safe, protected from the cold. So it's going to depend on the temperature outside, so I'm always looking at the forecast before I leave.
Yep.
Generally, on a bike, you're going to be exerting yourself, so you don't need super heavy clothing because you're going to be sweating, so you don't want to overheat either. So usually today I have just a base layer on underneath, just a regular t-shirt.
So no long johns under the pants?
Oh yeah, I have them on.
Oh yeah, long johns and
so
the
I got
pants.
Base layer on.
Yeah.
Insulated socks, winter boots.
Oh, let's see the socks.
These are just kind of standard.
Oh yeah, okay. Great.
That's actually a synthetic material.
Yeah, not like mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So, and just some basic winter boots.
Yep.
And then for gloves, I think I brought what I'm using.
Nice, I love this. Oh, can I pull out these glasses?
Yeah. Those are
Awesome.
just safety gloves.
Safety glasses. Oh yeah, okay, for work. Awesome. Hey, work's good for biking also.
Yeah.
I have gotten a bug in the eye. It is not funny.
Well, they do. They protect from thrown rocks as well.
Yes.
So, just some basic winter gloves.
Yeah.
And then underneath, I'll just wear some of those thin. You can even buy them at the dollar store. Just those liner gloves.
Yep.
Just for a little bit of an extra layer.
Yep.
When it's extreme cold, like minus 20 or colder, I will put on some full mittens. So the disadvantage with those is does make it hard to access the controls.
Yeah, like you mean without the fingers.
Yeah, so just some
Yeah.
big like snowmobile mittens.
Okay, yeah.
On my bike, I can shift with those.
Yeah.
So you just have to look at the type of bike you have. You might need to go with some bar mitts or some gloves.
Yeah. Do you have grip shifts on your bike, or
No,
do you
I
have those the clickers,
Yeah.
the index finger and the thumbs?
Yeah.
Have you seen those crab, lobster? What I think they're called crab mitts, maybe lobster mitts. Crab, lobster. Okay, thanks, Don. Yeah. Have you? Oh, we have the lobster mitts. Okay, have you seen these?
Yeah, I haven't used those.
No, neither have I. Are they good?
Oh, they're great.
Oh, they're great, he says. Amazing. And you're able to shift?
Yeah, that's the advantage because it's split into the two fingers, so you at least have that little bit of flexibility.
Okay. Our dedicated audience member says this is the advantage of these two, splitting your two fingers, because then you can do the shifting. I've always wondered about these, but never pulled the trigger because they were like so expensive. Were these like $250?
Oh, no.
No?
Not the Canadian Tire on sale. They might have been 50.
Oh, Canadian Tire on sale. 50 smackaroonies. Awesome. Thanks. Okay. Awesome. I'm not really ashamed, but I don't have anything this fancy or that fancy. I wear 3 layers of mittens that my grandma knitted me. But this is not about me. This is about you. Tell us about your helmet also.
So I got this at Dutch Cycle.
Yep.
This is a laser brand.
Okay. Is it insulated?
No.
This is just a regular.
Standard kind of city bike helmet.
Yeah.
So I do wear, underneath it, I'll wear a balaclava.
And that's it?
Yeah.
Just a balaclava?
Yeah. If it's really cold, I have a full face one with
Okay.
goggles.
Okay.
I do find that goggles have a tendency to fog up.
I know.
It's really not a lot around that, just because you're exerting yourself. There's a lot of moisture,
Yeah.
so they do tend to ice up,
Okay.
especially when you get below -30.
Yeah.
I find that I really can't avoid frost on the goggles.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll use either just the one that goes around my head and neck. If it's a day like today, kind of -10.
Yeah.
And then below -15, I'll use the full face.
Okay. How do your ears stay warm though?
It covers my ears.
Yeah, but the balaclava, is it enough to keep your ears warm?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
See, that's the problem I have. My ears never stay warm.
Oh.
So I'm like double tootking it, and yeah, it's not working. Okay, awesome.
And then one thing I'll add is for wet conditions.
Yep.
Make sure that you have some weatherproof clothing.
Yeah.
So what's especially dangerous if it's cold and raining. That's a bad combination.
Yes, it is.
Especially we had that last week.
Yep.
It was about 0 degrees Celsius and it was raining.
Yeah.
So you're going to want to make sure that you have some insulated, waterproof
Yep.
rain gear.
Yeah.
Because you're going to cool off really fast.
Once you stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess once you're, going to. What was I going to ask? Do you have an e-bike?
No.
What do you think about having an e-bike in the winter to give you that extra, oomph? Because I've seen some people that have a winter e-bike, fat bike, whatever it's called, and I just can't decide.
I think an electric fat bike definitely would have helped me on Tuesday.
Yeah.
I was mostly just taking my bike for a walk.
Yeah.
I don't have any experience with them.
Yeah.
So I couldn't really recommend specific e-bikes or
Yeah.
specific setups.
Yeah.
I know that e-bikes in general are a really good technology because they allow more people to ride.
Yeah.
So if you're less confident in those winter conditions, or you're a senior, or you're just someone who doesn't want workout after a 12-hour shift,
Yeah.
they made it more accessible for everyone.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think that e-bikes are great to have
Yeah.
that option for people that would just be in a car.
Otherwise.
So it's another option.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Also, I wanted to ask you, when you get to your destination, especially in the winter, you're working a bit harder, the terrain, obviously, you've got some snow and stuff, depending, like the main arteries are usually, there's a nice wheel track that you can ride in, and lots of times in the winter it's bare pavement all the way, which is great. Not always though, and if you're in the back alleys and stuff. Don't you work up a sweat, and then once you get there, even something like your mitts or like your long johns, you've been sweating, and you need to get rid of that base layer and hang it up nicely somewhere so it can dry, so it's ready to go home again. Do you have that problem?
Sometimes. I know that you can always bring an extra set of clothes.
Yeah,
Is a good
true.
option.
Yeah.
If you have a space you can change at work.
Yeah.
Fortunately, in my line of work, we're not super concerned about a bit of sweat or dirt, just because of the nature of my job, which does make it nice.
Yeah.
For people that have to wear, business clothing, it's a little bit more tricky.
Oh, dude, I have packed the high heels in the bag so many times. Like, it sucks.
So I know in the summertime, just kind of showing up in work boots and high vis shirt, no one really minds at my work, so that's nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is an option.
Yeah. Awesome.
And then always layering down is an option too. So it's better to have too many layers on because you can remove a layer.
Exactly.
And not enough and being frozen.
Exactly. Did you get honked at on your way here today?
I don't know if it was directed at me. I don't think it was.
Okay.
But it doesn't happen very often.
Really?
I know that the drivers here are generally quite good, in my experience.
Really?
We do need infrastructure,
Mm-hmm.
but I find that when I have to communicate, as I often do, whether I'm signaling or stopping, they're usually pretty accommodating. They definitely could make it a lot worse than they do. So
Yeah.
I appreciate the patience.
Yeah.
Especially right now where I'm basically just in a rut.
Yeah.
I can't really move off to the right any more than I am. So
Yep. Exactly.
So I do appreciate the patience.
Yep. Yeah. Like probably most drivers don't want to hit a cyclist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. No, that's great. Tell us about the winter biking workshops that you've been thinking of doing. Who do you think is a great audience for a winter biking workshop?
I think winter biking is really for everyone that's interested.
Yeah.
I'd like to see more infrastructure put in.
Yeah.
So you can kind of get more of those people biking with their kids.
Yeah.
People that aren't comfortable in traffic.
Yeah.
But I really think that it's not for everyone, but
Yeah.
but I don't know if there's really a specific person that wants to bike because bikes are so universal.
Yeah.
There's so many uses for them. There's so many types of bikes.
Yeah.
That I think it's really for just about anyone.
Yeah.
And if you're biking for fun on the weekends, or you're biking all over the city like I do, I think there's many opportunities for work and recreation that a bike can bring you.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned infrastructure. So have you found that the bike infrastructure that we do have in Regina, do you think that it's maintained well enough to make it functional year-round?
I have seen some improvements, in particular with the multi-use pathways in the parks. So shout out to Parks Maintenance. I know they were there by 11 a.m. on Wednesday. I was able to bike through. That was really the only place I was able to bike.
Are you talking about around Wascana Park?
No, this was in the north end.
Oh, really?
Juniper Park and Stan Oxelgren Park.
Wow.
So the roads were pretty much impassable.
Yeah.
But the Parks Maintenance had already been through those and they were cleared.
Wow.
So that was really one of the only places I could actually bike.
Wow. So that was heavy downfall Tuesday, right?
By Wednesday morning, I was biking through both of those parks.
Wow. Amazing.
What it really showed me is that if you have a bike network and you prioritize snow clearing on it,
Yeah.
even the day after one of the biggest storms of the year, you can be out on your bike.
Yeah. Amazing. Wow. That's amazing. And have you noticed anything about the on-street bike lanes? Do you find that they're passable? Do you use any on your regular routes?
I don't have any on my...
Oh, you don't?
No, I'm always on the road.
So like main arteries, lots,
Yeah.
like Broad you were mentioning?
Especially coming in from the northern suburbs of the
Yeah.
city, there's really nothing to get me into the city center
Yeah.
from where I live.
Yeah.
And I find that the painted ones are really not particularly helpful, just because they don't provide any kind of actual barrier. So I really have to act as if those aren't there.
Right.
As opposed to something like a separated path where you can
Yeah.
kind of just enjoy the ride. Even on those painted ones, I'm still going to be checking my mirrors, checking behind me.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, great. Let's go back to work. So you said that really you were progressing, at first you started biking not all that often, but at least it was a start, and then now you're basically 100% biking where you go. Is there anything in particular you think that nudged you along that progression?
I think it happened over time.
Okay.
There was definitely a switch where when I first started, it was very hard.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have that barrier where I'd wake up in the morning and I don't want to do this.
Right. So
I'm just going to get in the car,
Yeah.
warm it up, and just drive.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of days like that, really even for the first 2 years.
Really?
Um,
So would it be like, okay, a bit windy today, a bit rainy,
Yeah.
a bit cloudy,
Yeah.
not a good day for biking, not a
Yeah.
good day for biking?
and then
Okay.
after a point, there was a switch
Okay.
where it's become the opposite, where I have to bike. I
Really?
feel like I have to be on the bike. If
Really?
I'm not on the bike, I'm not happy.
Yeah,
So when I do drive to work, it's way less enjoyable.
right.
So it's kind of the inverse now.
Yeah.
There was a point where, yeah, just the enjoyment of riding and being able to start your day like that became more important than kind of the comfort of being in a motor vehicle.
Wow.
So it's kind of the inverse now.
Yeah.
Driving feels like an inconvenience.
Really?
Yeah.
So I can definitely relate to that. I for sure affirm that. I hardly ever drive, but when I'm a passenger, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, if I were on my bike, I wouldn't have to be stopped right now in this traffic jam. I could just ride around, or construction or what have you, you know. So has anyone at work, have any of your colleagues followed suit or been inspired by you, do you think?
Nobody's followed suit yet.
No.
I'm hoping to see more. We are seeing more employees around the city choosing the bike.
Okay.
So it is a little bit hard with my area when we are required to travel between sites.
Right,
That is difficult for people, especially like not having that infrastructure.
right.
I definitely don't blame people for not being confident on some of the busier roads.
Yeah.
It did take me a long time to gain the skills to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So having a connected path would definitely make that a lot easier.
Right.
So I think we'd see more in the future having that path system.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that I do have a lot of success talking about this with my coworkers.
Really?
When I kind of frame this as a workers' rights issue, talking about how it's an affordable way for workers to get around the city.
Yeah.
Takes a lot of financial pressure off people if they didn't have to be financing vehicles or having these kind of ever-increasing mechanic bills.
Yeah.
A lot of people are struggling with affordability, so
Yeah.
this would really improve the situation quickly to create that option for people.
Yeah, and do you find that when you frame it as biking as a way to financial freedom, that it really grabs their attention?
Yeah, it depends on the audience too.
Okay.
So we can kind of, when we're doing advocacy or we're debating people, we can customize our responses depending on who we're talking to.
Yes.
So in my shop, I have a lot of success approaching it that way.
Yeah.
People also might be concerned about climate change. They might be concerned about the fitness aspect of it.
Yeah.
So you can tailor. You don't have to pick one reason because there's many reasons to ride a bike.
Absolutely.
So I find that I'll change how I frame it depending on who I'm talking to.
Yeah. Do you find that your household budget is going further since you've been biking?
It's definitely tough right now with the increases of everything else.
Yeah.
I think that it would be worse if I was spending, hundreds more on fuel than I
Yeah.
am now.
Yeah.
We are in a crisis at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
so it's still not going as far as it was.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely also just having the knowledge of not having to have a car
Mm-hmm.
kind of gives me a bit more confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know that if there's a big mechanic bill, it's not going to ruin my life if I can't deal with it right now.
Yeah.
I could even the freedom of knowing that I could go months without a car.
Yeah.
As opposed to panicking and saying I need a car right now, and you're
Yeah.
looking at financing one.
Yeah.
So it takes that mental stress off too, where
Sure.
I could just say, no, I'm going to save up for one. I don't need one right now.
Yeah. But do you have a car now?
I do.
You do?
I still have a pickup truck
Oh, a truck.
that I use for I guess the appropriate uses.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's kind of how I try to look at it.
Yeah.
Where it's like, do I need this right now? Probably not. I don't need it for a bag of groceries, so I'm gonna walk. So
Yeah.
there's definitely is a use case for cars and trucks.
Yeah.
But it's not going 2 kilometers
Yeah.
in an urban area.
How do you get your groceries?
I walk.
Oh, okay.
I'm fortunate enough I live close enough to a grocery store.
Yeah.
So I do have a big folding wagon that I'll use.
Really?
Yeah, it works good. I can get like a full shopping cart's worth in that cart.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But do you just like roll around the grocery store carrying your
Yeah,
wagon
just
behind you?
Roll it right in.
Do you?
Yeah.
And it's just like your shopping cart?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
but
it's more convenient because I just put everything in there and just take it straight home.
Yep. Well, you stop at the checkout on the way out.
Yeah, yeah.
Great. And you said sometimes that you drive to work. What what would be the conditions that would make you drive instead of bike?
Well, I haven't driven to work in 2 years, so
Wow.
I'm doing good so far.
Wow.
I think there was one day.
One day that you, in the last 2
I
years.
slept through my alarm by 3 hours. So
So you drove that day?
yeah,
Yes.
that's kind of my only
Yes.
recourse there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been doing good. It's been 2 years since so only once in 2 years.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, I want to go back to you were saying, and we'll talk maybe for another 5 or 10 minutes and then take some questions. You were saying that, I mean, there's many reasons to ride a bike, right? There's the physical health, and which is going to spill into mental health. There's the emissions. There's viewing the city differently, like more in touch with your neighborhood and city and stuff. But on the emissions side of things, and the financial reasons, of course. On the emissions side of things, was there something that really made you more aware of environmental responsibility, if you want to call it that?
Well, I know that we need to quickly reduce our dependency on automobiles in order to limit greenhouse gas emissions. So that's kind of the biggest priority there. Is in those use cases where we don't need to drive, finding the alternatives.
Yeah. You said you grew up here.
Yeah,
Yeah. Is your family still here?
yeah.
And do they bike?
No, I'm the only one.
You're the only one.
Yeah.
Do they razz you for it?
No, they've been very supportive.
Really?
They do. Some of them do ride recreationally, I should add, but no one in the form of commuting.
Yeah, like day-to-day needs.
Yeah, but I've had a very typical Canadian suburban life where again you put the bike away and it doesn't come out again.
Yeah.
And once you get your first car.
Yeah.
So very typical.
Yeah.
In that sense.
Yeah. And would you like to see them bike?
I don't think that anybody has to.
Yeah.
It's up to your personal choice.
Yeah.
I know that having a city with multiple options is what I want to see in the future.
Yeah.
So where everyone can choose how they want to get around, having convenient transit, walking. I know that some of them have expressed interest in being able to walk more, having safer streets with less traffic. Even something like excessively loud roads. Those 5-lane intersections where even walking across them on the pedestrian signal is unpleasant.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk. Let's talk about how your mode of transport and your social life intersect or don't. I know for myself, I have found that there's just in the past, some events or something, even something as simple as like a medical appointment. I'm always thinking, okay, am I able to bike there? What's my route to get there? Is there safe bike parking once I do get there? All of these different factors. Do you ever find that biking is like a barrier to just being more social or just getting managing your life?
I do find I'm a bit of a lone wolf.
Really?
So I like the aspect of independently getting around in the city. So as far as I don't do a lot of socializing.
Yeah.
So I like to keep to myself a lot.
Yeah.
So I do find that the bike makes that a bit easier.
Yeah.
And as far as getting around, it is getting easier, I think, as more people start biking.
Yeah.
Drivers are more used to seeing bicycles on the road.
That's the hope.
That's a big part, is even just being out there so they know how to overtake, how to, pass safely.
Yeah.
Or right-of-way rules.
Yeah.
So as far as getting around, it really depends on, I'm very dogmatic about this. So I've walked across the city. I've, biked on, industrial roads with no shoulder. So I find that there are barriers there where I will push through them and I'll take an hour to bike somewhere or I'll walk to the store.
Right.
But I understand as I'm doing that why the majority of people wouldn't do the same thing.
Yeah.
So I completely understand when people say, no, I'm just going to take my motor vehicle because there's no bike rack here and there's no bike path. So
To get there.
I've been very stubborn about not driving around the city for my daily tasks. But I understand why people wouldn't choose that option right now.
Right. Yeah. It's like totally your choice, but you would never force it on someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Before we take some questions, is there anything else that I haven't covered today that you want to chat about?
I think we've pretty much covered everything. I just have kind of a a public service announcement
Oh.
for motorists in the city.
Oh, what is it?
So for yield signs and stop signs,
Yeah.
the same right-of-way rules apply to me as they do to motor vehicles. So I have often encounters where drivers with the right-of-way will stop, and it creates a bit of a hazard and sort of an awkward situation where we're both just sitting there because I don't know why they've stopped, and you know there could be cars behind them that don't know why they're stopped. So I would say just reduce your speed and just carry on through when I have the stop sign or the yield sign.
Yep.
If I'm attempting to cross on the pedestrian crossing, I'll walk my bike.
Okay, yeah.
So
Like you're supposed to.
Yeah, I'm not in a rush. I'm on a bike.
Yep.
If I have to sit there for 5 minutes, I can wait.
Yep.
So that's kind of the biggest getting that across.
Yeah. I'm so glad you said that. I was so bothered by this in my undergrad that I chose that as I had to do a nudge paper. So like, what can we do to nudge drivers to just continue driving when they have the right of way? I'm the one on the side street on the bike. I've got the stop sign. You're on Broadway as the vehicle. Please just keep going. And I even made a little skit, and I had, you know, those like in some university classes, all the desks are these individual little spaceship things on wheels, you know? And so I had one of my classmates, I gave her a steering wheel and I made her be the car, you know, and I took my bike right into the room and had a little skit. And in my skit, of course, it causes an accident and the cyclist gets killed and etc.
Just to kind of give an example, I was
Yeah.
on Argyle Street, and three lanes of traffic stopped for me.
Wow.
And,
So what do you do though when they stop?
well, the issue is that I really at that point don't have a good option because
Well-
in that case I started going very slowly.
Yes,
And a car overtook one of the lanes on the right-hand side because they didn't know that there was a bike crossing.
exactly.
Because they had the green light, they expected to be going through.
Exactly.
So really, I'm either sitting there waving and doing this and pointing for 5 minutes, or I'm going. But now I don't have the right of way, and the other lanes of traffic, you know, don't know why you're stopped.
Yeah.
So I really don't have a lot of good options. I've proceeded through the intersection before, which is not good for me. I've waved cars around, which just gets everyone impatient. So
Have you ever just stopped and just waited?
I have as well.
Like, I've done that.
Yeah.
Like trying to cross Winnipeg, for example, and Winnipeg is stopping for me.
Yeah.
And I was so entrenched in this that I refused to go. And I had like 5 cars behind me that were just honking. I will never do that again. But yeah, that is an option that I don't recommend.
I do, it's kind of it always sucks because the drivers are trying to be courteous.
Yep.
And the drivers here are very courteous.
Yep.
But when you have the right of way, I'm not going to get offended if you proceed through the intersection.
Yeah. Yeah, no one wants to hit a cyclist after
Yeah.
all.
So,
Yep.
so yeah, just slow down and do a little wave and then just carry on through.
And just make sure no one's coming from that next lane of traffic to come and
Yeah.
hit you. Yeah. Great public service announcement. Love it. All right. Can we take some questions?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions, which I will repeat into the microphone? Any comments?
What?
Yeah.
You work for the city of Regina,
I do.
You work for the City of Regina.
Transportation Department.
Transportation Department. Hello.
Have you had any casual interactions with the Transportation Department?
No, I haven't.
I'll just repeat that into the microphone. Have you had any interactions with the Transportation Department? And the answer was no. And sorry, keep going. Future interactions?
Future interactions.
Yeah, I'm advocating through my work as well. So any opportunities that you have within my job to raise awareness about biking, or even just within my department, just kind of being the first one to do that was already the first step. So I think as time goes on, I'll continue to serve the public.
And just to follow up on that, is the Sustainable Infrastructure Branch part of the Transportation Department, or is that separate?
That would be I can't really comment on that.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, Don, you wanted to follow up?
No, that's you're a model employee.
I appreciate that.
You're a model
You
employee.
should profile yourself within the city of Regina. 'Cause when I've gone to pay a bill, and they see me with my bike helmet on, and they think, you're weird, why are you here? Well, I'm paying my water bill because I still like doing that. I would never ride my bike to my job, because most people think like cars when they ride their bike.
Most people
Gets you
think
in
like
trouble.
cars. Yep.
So I wasn't really questioning, use your platform with the city of Regina, please.
Great.
Okay, so we have a recommendation. Use your platform with the city of Regina and make them see you're a model employee. You are reducing scope 3 emissions.
Yeah, I'll just also say that any opinions are mine. And
Absolutely.
do not reflect the opinions of the city of Regina.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I love Regina t-shirt.
Yep,
Love it.
I do love the city.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to improve it any way that I can.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Another question. Yes.
Could you tell us about your choices and routine for bike lights, both in terms of visibility, but also battery drain in the winter?
Yeah.
Question about bike lights. What do you use, and do the batteries last, and do they drain quickly in the winter?
So batteries generally are going to drain faster in the cold, so it's something you have to account for. What I'm using right now, I just have a very basic tail light, just a flashing tail light just from Canadian Tire. It happens to work in the cold. Some of the department store ones don't. So you just have to kind of gauge that. For my front light, I found the department store ones kind of in the $20 range would die very fast, even at -5. So I've gone with I have a Nog brand, which I quite like. It mounts on the handlebars with a quick release. So the mount stays on the handlebar, and for charging I just remove the light. And that one I've had good experience with the battery life, even down to -30. So it's not going to last as long as in the summer. But with the adjustments, it has an adjustable brightness, so I'll just turn it down one, and I'll get probably at least 2 hours. So that's kind of what they actually discontinued that model, so I can't really recommend that specific one, but that brand has been good so far.
And that's the Nog, you said, for
Yeah.
your front light.
And I'd always recommend something that has an actual beam. So some lights, they just have a kind of passive lighting on there just to show where you are, but you're always going to want one with a nice headlight beam, like a car headlight that's actually going to illuminate the road in front of you in the wintertime.
Yeah, especially the bike paths where it's not illuminated. I
Yeah.
find that's really good. I use a Mech. I don't know what model it is, but anyways, I got it from Mech, and I've had good luck with that one too. Although, downfall of that one, like you said, yours comes right off of the mount.
Yeah.
This one doesn't. You got to take off mount and everything to charge it. So
Yeah.
kind of a design flaw, but for $80 or whatever it was, I like it.
And I also add, I make sure to charge them every ride. So every time I go out, I have them fully charged.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be running out of battery in the dark.
Yeah.
And of course, having passive lighting. So I wear high visibility clothing, making sure your bike's fitted with reflectors. So if your light does go out, motorists can still see you.
Exactly.
I know that even you don't need any, cycling specific clothing. I just use industrial high vis clothing. Works great. Any car headlights that hit me, it's going to illuminate me.
Yep.
And even the armbands and everything when I'm signaling,
Yep.
that's reflecting too. So,
Yep.
Human eyes are attracted to movement.
Yep.
So anything moving on your bike, if you've got reflective clothing on, that's going to be moving.
Yep.
So flashing lights, reflectors, that's going to catch
Sure.
people's attention.
Exactly. Bioluminescence, they call it, when the parts of your body that are moving, you light those up nicely. So me too, I like to have reflectors on my ankles, because that's what's moving. Anything else before we wrap up? Cory Cesselli. Nothing else. Thank you very much for coming to the Spoken Word.
Thank you.
You're welcome.